I just think what the hearing showed looking forward is that the Trump inside game is superior in 2.0 than it was in 1.0, and that they still have that outside game and the hammer to bring when they need it, which, as you say, Mark, they did earlier. And for Democrats, we need to up our game, right? I mean, I think you saw on display, like Chuck Schumer said, we're going to get back on offense. We're going to, try to make some moments. We're going to try to rough them up. And it was so inauthentic for some of those members. I mean, it was like they had too much coffee. They were wound up. Like some of them were just outright embarrassing in their tone. I think the substance, there was a lot of merit to what they were saying, but it was lost in the kind of just showmanship that was just so over the top. So I think, Trump's got two different, guns to fire now, and inside and obviously the outside. And for Democrats, we need to up our game.
What was fascinating to me, Dan, was they tried to, and you saw this with Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan. She tried to present him with these hypotheticals about what would you do if President Trump did this horrible hypothetical thing. And Hegseth, I think, effectively said, I'm not going to take the bait, right? And I kept thinking to myself, why are you, instead of making this about Trump, if you had gone after Hegseth by baiting him on a hypothetical that wasn't Trump relevant, right? So let's say that you have an enlisted sailor or soldier that comes to you and does the following. Would you have a problem with that, right? Oh, you would? Well, then, let's escalate it. They came in starting with Trump, and Pete knew exactly how to handle that, which was, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals about President Trump or any right, or advice I'd give him. I think tactically and strategically, they came at this completely wrong. They thought that they could get the nominee to undermine President Trump, and no one, whether it's Pete Hegseth or a nominee to be named later, is dumb enough to take that bait.
Well, I thought, it's interesting. The one place I thought actually that was I wanted to hear more was Angus King poking around on kind of, the Geneva Convention and the rules of engagement. And I actually thought Hegseth started veering off the talking points a little bit, talking about, well, in certain circumstances, the world's different today, and we may have to do what we have to do. And there was very few Republicans coming to his defense on that front. But again, and Angus King was calm. He was measured. I mean, he's a Mainer, right? So he's not going to like flamethrow. But just, so many other instances, I thought they lost control of everything.
But you're right. You're touching on something. I think the way that it was like a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like when Mark Halpern interviews you, right? He starts off as, there was a meeting in a bar 5 years ago. You were there, right? Oh, yeah, I was there. Okay, at that meeting. I mean, like, he pulled the string in a way. Again, this gets back to the tactic and the overall strategy. The way that you string somebody into the conversation. And he talked initially about his faith and and got Hegseth to engage in a way. Whereas these other guys came at him like, full on, like, if Trump, started World War III and you had to push the button, would you? And it was like, dude, what do you think he's going to say?